The cafeteria was loud, the kind of chaos only teenagers could create: laughter, slamming trays, and whispers that always seemed to have a target. That day, the target was a quiet new girl sitting alone with her lunch untouched. Her name was Emily. She had just moved to town a week ago, but she already knew what it meant to be invisible. Or worse, noticed for the wrong reasons. Across the room, a group of boys pointed at her worn shoes and the small scar near her eyebrow. "Hey new girl, what happened? You fall out of your daddy's truck," one of them sneered, drawing laughter from his friends. She tried to smile, tried to hide the tears welling up in her eyes. But that kind of cruelty, sharp, practiced, casual, cuts deep. Especially when you've spent your whole life trying to blend in, and just as the laughter echoed, a shadow moved near the vending machines. He'd been standing there quietly for a few minutes, fixing the jammed coin slot, just another school maintenance guy with a limp and a faded cap. To most of the students, he was invisible too. But when he saw what was happening, he didn't hesitate. He set his wrench down slowly, the kind of deliberate motion that said he'd seen worse than this, and he wasn't about to let it slide. "Hey," his voice carried across the room. Calm, deep, unshakable. "That's enough." The laughter stopped. The bullies turned, smirking when they saw it was just the janitor. "Relax, old man, we're just joking," one said, but there was something in the man's eyes that didn't joke back. A silence filled the cafeteria, heavy and strange. The kind that makes even the loudest people go quiet. Emily didn't know it yet, but that quiet man was a veteran. A single father who'd buried friends, fought nightmares, and built his life back piece by piece. And what no one in that room knew, was that the girl they were mocking had more in common with him than anyone could guess. After that day, word spread around school that the janitor had stepped in. Most kids forgot about it by the next week. But Emily didn't. Every morning, she'd see him sweeping near the hallways, always calm, always quiet. Once, she left a small thank you note by his mop bucket. She didn't expect him to reply, but the next day, she found a folded napkin with 3 words written in neat, simple handwriting: "Keep standing tall." It was strange how those 3 words gave her courage. When she got shoved in the hallway again, she didn't cry. When people laughed, she kept her head up. And slowly, she started to find her place, drawing in art class, volunteering at the library, smiling a little more, but behind those quiet school days, something else was happening. The man, James Walker, was fighting his own battle. A veteran with a wounded leg and a daughter named Lily who barely spoke to him anymore. Since his wife's death 3 years ago, he'd been lost between grief and guilt, doing his best to stay steady for her. Working as a janitor wasn't what he'd imagined for his life, but it was honest work, and it let him keep his promises. One afternoon, Emily stayed late at school for art club. When she came out, it was raining hard. She didn't have an umbrella, and her mom's car had broken down again. She stood under the front awning, shivering, when headlights flashed in the parking lot. A beat-up pickup truck pulled up, and Mr. Walker leaned out the window. "Need a ride, kid?" She hesitated, then nodded. He didn't talk much as he drove, just let the hum of the rain fill the silence. But when he dropped her off, she noticed a photo clipped to his dashboard, him in uniform, holding a little girl with pigtails. "She's your daughter?" Emily asked softly. He nodded. "Yeah. Haven't seen that smile in a while." For some reason, Emily's eyes stung. "She's lucky," she whispered. He glanced at her, puzzled. "Why's that?" "Because you care," she said. "Some people don't get that." He didn't reply. But that night, when he sat in his small apartment, He thought about those words more than he wanted to admit. Weeks passed. Emily grew stronger, more confident. But bullies don't always give up easily. One afternoon, after gym, she found her locker open, her sketchbook torn apart, her drawings shredded across the floor. The laughter came again, echoing like a cruel chorus. Something broke inside her. She ran, out of the hallway, out of the building, straight into the rain, and that's when she saw him again. Mr. Walker, loading tools into the back of his truck. She tried to wipe her tears, but he saw. He didn't ask questions. Just handed her a towel and said quietly, "Get in." They drove for a while without speaking, until they reached an old park near the river. It was quiet, just the sound of rain on the water. "People can be cruel," he said finally. "They see weakness, they use it. You can't control that." She looked down. "Then what do you do?" He took a breath. "You learn to fight different. You stand up, not because you want to win, but because you refuse to stay down." Then he told her about his time in the army, about the fear, the loss, the nights he couldn't sleep. About coming home to nothing, and choosing to build again. "I'm not brave," he said. "I'm just tired of giving up." That night, something changed for both of them. Months later, the school held a Veterans Day assembly. Students sat in rows, half listening to the speeches. But when the principal called out the name, Sergeant James Walker, U.S. Army, retired, the room froze. The janitor, quiet, limping, always in the background, walked onto the stage. Emily watched as everyone rose to their feet. The bullies who had mocked her now clapped awkwardly, not knowing where to look, and when Mr. Walker spoke, his voice was steady. "Heroism isn't medals or uniforms," he said. "It's choosing kindness when it's hard. It's standing up when no one else does." In the crowd, Emily felt tears roll down her cheeks. She realized she wasn't the same scared girl anymore, and maybe, neither was he. After the assembly, she found him in the hallway, fixing a light bulb as if nothing had happened. She walked up and smiled. "You were right," she said. "About standing tall." He looked down at her, and for the first time in a long while, he smiled back. "You too, kid." Outside, the afternoon sun poured through the windows, warm and forgiving. The world hadn't changed, but they had, and sometimes, that's enough to make all the difference.